Well, welcome back to the old workshop. What are we doing? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I said I wasn't going to do. I'll tell you what I said I wasn't going to do. I wasn't going to do any more of these wedges. I thought I had enough of them. But I found this wedge, and look at this. A knot, big knot was there, and it came out. I mean, I couldn't have taken a saw and sawed anything more rounded and perfect than what I have here. And it was just so unique. I thought maybe I wanted to do another little bowl. And what I want to do is to make a companion piece, a vase, that will just fit in there like that. Not attached to it, but just sit there with it, like that. So I found this piece of Leland cypress. It's kind of weird looking. And I don't know which way I'm going to make it. Am I going to have it come up like this or have it the other way? I'm not sure yet. I'll have to start turning on it first. And then I have a little dish here and a vase here. And that's what I'll be doing. So I'm going to get that set up. I'm going to get it laid out. I'll show you what I'm going to do on laying it out. First thing I want to do, I want to try to find a balance point. So I take something like this and, well, wow, look at that. I'm not just exactly sure where that's going to balance. But it's nice and thick. It's thicker than the last one I did. It doesn't get near as thin on the bottom end. So I'll probably put the dish down here like so. But the first thing I want to do is I want to take my belt sander and I'm going to sand this kind of smooth. And I'm going to sand the other side smooth, the flat side. And then I'll lay it out, drill my hole like I did in the last video, well, the video before the last. Drill the hole and then attach a tenon on the bottom side. And I'm sure this is going to turn really poorly. It's going to be way out of balance. But I just like the weird shape, and I just really love that. It's natural. I didn't saw that. Trust me, believe me, I didn't saw that. Honest, crisscross my heart, or whatever, you know. I didn't do it. It fell out just like that, and I've never seen anything so perfect. You know, there's no saw marks on that, so I didn't saw that out. That just fell out of there. So anyway, I'm going to flat sand that, sand it flat with my belt sander. You don't need to wash that. There's no need. It's just a belt sander, and you just sand. But when I get back to the layout, I'll show you what I'm doing. Well, I said I wasn't going to show you this, but I'll get it started. Since it's on an angle like that, I kind of build it up here so it's kind of flat, make it easier to do. And can't clamp it. Won't fit in the vise because it's odd shape. But anyway, just take a belt sander and just kind of smooth it out. And just do the other side a little bit. And when you're using a belt sander, you don't push down. You let the weight of the sander do the work. That's smooth enough. Now, these fine shavings, let's see if I got the camera right there for you. Yeah, these fine shaving, or it's fine sawdust. Look how fine that is. I save that because it's the right color. It's the color of the wood. And then I mix that with, if I got a crack or a hole or something, I mix that with PVA glue. And then I fill the crack and it matches. It works out a lot better than if you use pre-made wood filler. That's good enough. Worked out good. Okay, I'm gonna get my tools to lay this out and clean this mess up, and I'll be back with you. Something I always do, if at all possible, I save the boxes for my tools, and I keep them packed up in the boxes. Like this belt sander. I don't know when I bought it. You can look at the box and you can tell it's old. It's an old Sears Craftsman 3-inch belt sander. Now, I've had this thing, at least 45 years. And I keep it in the box. It keeps things organized. Keeps the tools from getting all beat up in storage. And they work like new, and I clean all my tools before I put them away. I vacuumed this, got all sawdust off of it. I don't know. Tools are expensive, and they've gotten a whole lot more expensive in our modern age. So that's what I do. Okay, the tools I'm going to need a compass, ice pick, of course the piece, some drills, and my tenon that I'm going to glue on the back, and my glue gun. And I've got my glue gun start to heat up. It takes a while, so while I'm laying it out, by the time I get done there, it ought to be hot. Okay, and it looks like right down in here is where I want to be. Let's see here what we got. That looks pretty good. You don't want to get too close to the edge because you might want to round those edges over. So I leave about a 1/2 inch on each side. You know, you can always make the hole bigger, the dish bigger, but you can't make it smaller once you get it. Alright, there's my center. Right there. Yeah, nice little compass set. I got this at Hobby Lobby. It's got a little deal there. It was 14 bucks. And when they have it on sale, and they have their art supplies on sale, you get it for 40% off. Okay, I need a drill bit. Yeah, this one's right. I want to drill all the way through. And that hole, that'll fill up with sawdust. And then I'll just put a little crazy glue on it. And it'll be just fine. You won't even notice it's there. So I'm going to go saw this on my drill press, or drill this on my drill press. I want the hole straight down through. I don't want it at an angle. That'll mess things up. Okay, now here's my tenon. And I have a hole in it there in the center. And I put that on that. Okay, see, and that keeps it centered to my drawing. Then I take my hot glue gun and I tack it in a couple places. Just hold it till it's tacked. And then I just glue all the way around it. Now it's ready to put in my chuck when I get over to my lathe. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and glue this up. Let it set for about 10 minutes, make sure it's good and solid. I'll put it on the lathe and I'll show you what I'm going to do over there. Okay, get my mask and face shield on. I got my air handling unit on. That's the noise in the background. I'm going to start with Thompson's 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and I want a tailstock up there just to get started. I haven't checked the balance on it. I got my lathe as slow as it'll go. Let's see how bad it is. Pretty bad. Well, let's see how it cuts. Remember, it's white oak, it's hard. Well, I think I'm going to change directions here, and I think I'm going to go with my carbide tip. It won't be near as jumpy. So let me get my Sorby carbide. Now I'm going to move the tailstock out of the way. There's just not enough room to work. It's too small a piece. Let's see. That's about right. You got to have your banjo further away than normal. See, this is where the banjo goes. So the tip has to stick out beyond the banjo. So, all right, we'll get it turned on here and we'll get to cutting. Let's see what we're getting here. Looks like I can make my just a little wider. Not a whole lot, but a little. Maybe we can get a little more speed. And go back just a little further. One of the nice things about having a little hole, you can stick your, and you can see how much you got left here. Now that's all I got left, so I don't want to go much deeper than that. So I'm just going to kind of finish the hole off, maybe get my scraper out, scrape it, and kind of round off the edge a little bit here, and I'll be done with turning. So I'll just kind of touch it up a little bit. There's kind of a ridge right there. I want to get that off, but I don't want to go much deeper. I'm having trouble getting rid of that ridge right there. And you're not making a bowl to make a salad in. You're just making a, it's more for looks than it is anything else. But I'll work on that ridge just a little more, and then we'll quit. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Well, I tell you, it's so smooth. I don't think I'm going to need my scraper. I think that'll work. So all I got to do now is start sanding, and as I sand, that little hole fills up with sawdust. I'll put a little crazy glue on that, and that'll take care of the hole. I'm not going to be able to sand that spinning. It's and I might be able to sand in here, but I definitely can't sand out here. I'll have to sand that with well, I'll leave it mounted, but I'll just use a sander to sand that off. Yeah, looking pretty good. Okay, well, I'm going to get my sander and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute or two. Alright, this is what I use. I told you this before. This old Black & Decker variable sander works really great. So I'll sand this out. I'm starting with an 80 grit. I'll sand this out using this, and then this here I'll sand with a 6-inch sander, and I'm going to sand all the way to 2000 grit because it makes it just like glass when you do that. So I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll finish it off, come back to you later. Alright, that's what it looks like, and I'll keep doing that all the way up to a 2000 grit. Then I'll get back to you. Okay, I'm using my 6-inch orbital sander. I just started. That's 100 grit, and I'll have paper up to 1000 grit with this. Then I'll have to use a little 2-inch on the rest of it. But that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do this outside first, then I'll come in and do the inside. Okay, so I'm going to get the next paper. This was 100 grit. This is 120. I don't know what kind of paper you use. I bought the cheap stuff, I bought the expensive stuff. But the Dura Gold is a little more expensive, but this stuff really works. It lasts. The other stuff, you just get started, it loads up and you can't clean it out, and it's no good. So that's one place you don't want to try to save. One thing I've learned over the years, can't skip grits. You start out with a 80, then you go to a 100, a 120, 150, 180, 220, 3, right on up to wherever you want to be. But you can't skip grips. If you do, there'll be scratches to show. And the other thing I learned is you don't start and stop your sander on your piece. You start it and then you put it down on the piece. You keep sanding it, you lift it off and you stop it. I'll show you. I know that sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do it. They'll start sanding on their piece, and then they'll stop on their piece. See how that piece moves around? Well, when it's moving around like that, you're scratching it. Okay, that's 1000 grit right there. And I tell you, it's just like glass. You're no longer sanding it, you're just polishing it. And if you can see the dust, it's almost like a white powder, like a talcum powder. The sawdust that comes off, their sanding dust. It just really makes it smooth. And I know some guys tell you 320, 400's enough, but there's a big difference between the two. Try it and you will see. Well, I'm going to get my little 2-incher, and I'm going to sand in here, and then I'm going to come around the edge with it and sand. Okay, I've got it sanded up to 2000 grit. Is there a difference between 1,000 and 2,000? You better believe it. But right now it's just like glass. I mean, it feels like it's so hard you can't believe it. It's just slick, 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 slick. What I'm going to do now is wipe a little mineral spirits on it. See if there's anything that I missed. That'll wipe all the dust off as well. There's a few scratches right there and right over here. Am I going to take those out? If I take those out, I got to bring the whole thing back up to start at the bottom and come all the way back. Oh, that's frustrating. I should have done this when I was about 400 grit, or maybe even after 120, because these are deep enough that they're 120. You have to go to 120 to get them out. I don't know. What do you think? Do they show or don't they show? I'm not bringing the camera in closer because I don't want you to see it. These are chainsaw marks. I leave those in. I got to think about this for a minute. Okay, I took it all the way down to 2,000. I started at 120, just spotted those, and I took it all the way down to 2,000. Now let's do our test with our paint thinner, see how it looks. And the question is, would anybody notice? Oh, probably not. Would I know it's there? Yeah, I would. There it is. Scratches are all gone. The thing I like about these end grain cuts is the rays. These white lines, those aren't scratches. That's rays. They call it rays in the wood. And no, they're just gorgeous. You know, this is end grain. That's why it's so hard to work with. Plus it's white oak. But what I'm going to do now is get some red oak stain and stain this sucker. First I got to take off the tenon. We don't need that any longer. Well, that's just like glass, guys, gals. See, my hole got filled up. It looks like what, one of these wormholes. Doesn't really show. I mean, there's all kinds of wormholes here that are full. But I'm going to get some red oak stain and wipe that on there, but after I take this off. Well, here's what it looks like. Stain. Get you down there where you can see it, maybe. A lot of glare, but see these rays? Oh man, that's what makes it pretty. They go this way up in here, and they go this way here, and they go down this way. They go straight up here. That's what it looks like stained. I'm going to let that dry overnight. Then tomorrow I'm going to shoot some high gloss lacquer on it. Alright, I'm going to sign off for the day. Over and out. See ya tomorrow. It'll be just like that. Just like this. Alright, couple things. Got a comment. They asked me why, in the last video, why I said you need to finish both sides of your piece. And this is especially important if you don't have kiln dried wood, which this is not. And the idea is so that it loses moisture at an even rate from both sides, and it helps prevent warping. If it's kiln dried, that's not as important. But even then, I always finish the other side. Whereas I might put 3 or 4 coats on the finish side. On this side, 1 coat of finish is probably enough. But you kind of want to seal it off so that both sides dry evenly. It helps with warping. That's why I said that. Okay, the other issue I just briefly mentioned is using good sandpaper. I bought a big box. I'll show you what it looks like. I got it sorted out here. Looks like this. I made a little box to keep the grits separated. And this was the cheap stuff. You know, you got like a 500 pieces for 20 bucks or something like that. This is the expensive stuff. This is Dura Gold. You don't get near as many pieces, and it costs about the same. But I want to tell you something. This stuff is good for one use. Now here's what I used yesterday. I'm just trying to use it up, get rid of it. This is what I used yesterday. And all these pieces, they instantly load up. They're only good for one little bit of sanding, and they load up. And you can't get rid of that. It's stuck in there. Whereas Dura Gold is not that way. Let's see if I can find a piece that I've used. Yeah, here's a piece that I've been using. This is 180 grit. Now I've used that a lot, and it doesn't load up, and it's still usable. There's still plenty of grit left on it. So it pays in the long run to buy the Dura Gold. It's taken me 40 years to learn that. Now you've learned it by watching one video. There are other good brands out there. 3M makes some good stuff. Klingspor is not so good. Not so good. I've used a lot of that on my 6-inch sander on this one. On this sander here, I've used a lot of Klingspor, and it's not so good, guys. It loads up, and you can't use that rubber thing to clean it. You know, it looks like a big eraser. It just doesn't work. So I'm strongly recommending this, okay? Now, the other thing I want to talk about is I'm finishing this up, and I want to get to the vase that's going to be the matching part for this in just a minute. But I sprayed this side, I stained this side, and it's got something sticky on it. When you're using lacquer, clear gloss lacquer, they tell you on a can at 12 inches. I tell you, at 12 inches, you tend to spray too heavy, and you get runs, and you get kind of an orange peel effect. Now, I've already sprayed the bottom side, and there's nothing there to see. It's not well finished. It's just the bottom side. It won't show. I've sprayed around the edges, which I'm going to spray again. I want about 3 or 4 coats on this. But anyway, 12 inches is too close. And I've gone to 18 inches, and I get a beautiful, no mess, don't have to do anything else, finish. And this is about 12 inches. This is about 18. This is about 18. Yeah, and it makes all the difference in the world in the quality of the finish. Let me plug in my air handling unit. Be a little noisy, but that stuff is potent stuff, and so you can hear me. Well, I'm not going to put a mask on. This is a small piece, but anyway, 18 inches. And you can spray this repeated coats about every minute. And I actually use a timer. Alexa, 1 minute timer. I use a timer. And I'll put about 3 coats on. And if it turns out nice, I'm done. Okay, so we'll let that dry for 1 minute. Well guys, I tried this thing and it is so out of balance that the lathe jumps 4 inches off the ground, off the floor every time it comes around. It's heavy, and because of this, it's out of balance. I can't do it. To make this thing, I've got to cut this off, so now I just have another piece of wood. So the boss, she had an idea. This is my first bowl, red oak, but it'll stain up. Turned this in August of 2021. So now you know I've only been doing this a couple years. And it wasn't very good. In fact, I was going to make firewood out of it, but she's sentimental, so she wanted to save it. So here it is. It's real thick. It must be 1.5 inches thick there. So I'm going to put it on the lathe. I'm going to turn the bottom, get it down there a lot thinner like it should be. Then I'll sand the outside so it'll take stain. And it just fits. It's perfect. Fortunately, the tailstock mark is still there, so I can drill a little hole so I can get it perfectly centered and glue on my tenon. I can perfectly center it. If it wasn't for that, it'd be really hard to get it the exact center. So I'm going to get this set up. You don't need to see this. You've seen me do this a couple of times if you've been watching the videos. But I'm going to glue this on, take it over, and I'm going to turn the bottom out. Okay guys, I got it mounted up here. I think it's set up. I'll be running about 700. I don't know how. Better check the thickness there. Oh, I still got quite a bit to go. There's a knot or something down in there. See, because it's wasn't perfectly centered, it's thicker on one side than it is the other. I guess I need to round off the outside a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try to round off the outside. I hope I don't mess it up. There's a crack right there, and I'm afraid it's going to split out, but we'll see what happens. Well, it's almost round again. Right here it's not. Well, just a little more to go. Alright. The outside's round. I can come back in now and round the inside. And I think we'll be in good shape. I hope. Yeah, something just broke out. I knew that was going to happen. We'll glue that back in. Darn it, I told you that crack was going to be a problem. I'm using the thick so that it don't run. Okay. Well, no more cutting up there. The only thing we can cut now is the bottom. And I don't know how much thickness I got left here. Well, I still got a 1/2 inch. Okay, I need to take more out of that bottom. So let's go back and work some more on the bottom. Okay, I got my air handler on and my face mask, and we're ready to rock and roll here. I'm going to start with 100 grit, and I'll take it all the way up to probably 1,000 or 1,500. Whoa. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing for probably the next half hour. Get back to you when it's done. Okay, well, I got it sanded down to 1,000 grit. That's pretty smooth. Won't be quite as smooth as this, but I stained it. There's my printing on the back. And by doing this, the wormholes really come out, which is kind of neat. I kind of like the wormholes. They're kind of neat. It's not perfect. I didn't get it back on there exactly round, so it's thinner here than it is over there. But to take this down, why it eliminate this, so I had to stop. But you know, I don't know. I like the wormholes. I think they look neat. Anyway, there's the little hole in the bottom. That's what it's going to look like. I'll get her all glossed up with some lacquer. Have to do that tomorrow. I want this to dry first, and then we'll be ready to go. Hey, I'll catch you tomorrow. Well, here it is, guys and gals, the finished product. This didn't stain. I used the same stain. I used red oak and red oak. But this stained a lot redder than this did. Now, I think the reason for that is this is in grain and this is not. This wood is kind of punky. This wood isn't. And I think that made a lot of difference. Probably the biggest factor is the fact that this is not in grain. But this stained with very little red, and the bowl really took on the red. So what I did was I went back and I sprayed, after 3 coats of lacquer, realizing it's red, I sprayed a coat of shellac on there. And then I stained it with dark walnut stain. And then I put another coat of shellac. And then I put 3 coats of an English walnut polyurethane. And lastly, I sprayed it with a coat of lacquer to kind of toughen it up. So didn't run into any compatibility problems, but it's still not as brown as I'd like. So what I've done, I didn't have any right now, but I'm out of Mohawk toner, finishing toner. And so I ordered some new finishing toner. And when it comes in, I'm going to make another video. And I'm going to show you how to use the walnut toner to bring out the color that you want to bring out. That'll be in the next video. It'll just be a short one. Probably be only like 5 or 6 minutes long. So that's what it looks like. Yeah, appreciate you watching. And like I said last time, we're over 600 subscribers now. I'm amazed. It humbles me to know that people are actually watching and enjoying my videos. So in the meantime, though, you know, give me a thumbs up if you really like them. And leave some comments. Appreciate those comments. I answer every comment. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes I don't get them right away from YouTube. I don't know why. But anyway, I always answer the comments. And if you're not a subscriber, why, please subscribe and always share. Gets that algorithm working for me instead of against me. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.